Hello, the internet, and happy 4th of July. Oh, best day of the year, I think. Well, Christmas, maybe Easter, those probably beat it. Um, but it's an amazing day. Jesus has to win, though. Um, Getting into today's episode, doing things a little bit differently. I've got kind of a big story to tell. I'm thinking it's going to be like 15 minutes, so I might actually be able to squeeze in an episode on Monday. Keep your eye out for next Monday. We'll see what we can do. Um, First, for updates, let's see. Oh, I did make an intro. It was awesome, but unfortunately, I won't be able to use it until 2067. It's copyrighted. I did not think about the copyright stuff when I made it, so what are you going to do? A couple other things. I mentioned that the Bible changes, and I don't want that to be misconstrued. I think we were talking about the kind of the no future thing, the fact that we have pretty much had all the technology we have now back in the past. And I mentioned, like, oh, everything changes, even the Bible changes. Um, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Everything comes from the source material that's, 4,000, 2,000 years old, 4,000 and 2,000 years old. Now, I don't know the actual age of a lot of that stuff, but we're talking, Dead Sea Scrolls and all that stuff. And so very old documentation, and then they take that source material and they translate that into all the other Bibles and books and whatnot. So essentially, you have that core stuff, and then they made the King James version. They did not go King James to NIV. They went from King James, and then they went back and went NIV, and then they went back and went whatever, all the other things. When you translate the Bible, they're always coming from the source material. They're not really changing. They're just kind of changing the wording to more fit what we're living through now, essentially, so we could read it properly. Most people nowadays don't really understand the thee, thys, and thems and thoses. Or thems, I think we understand. But anyway, regardless, what I meant was like the people in the cities and everything, evolve and change. We started with Adam and Eve in the garden, and then we evolved and changed into doing all the other stuff. We had the Great Flood, and then evolved and changed into the next stuff, all that sort of things. That's what I meant by things change in the Bible. I said the compressor is what builds ice crystals and ends up dripping water under your car. I meant the evaporator. The compressor just compresses the gas into the fluid, and the condensed fluid, goes through the evaporator with air flowing through it. I'm doing this because it's tubes similar to a radiator that move in that zigzag fashion and out the other end. So as that fluid moves through it, we have a heat transfer from the air blowing through it, which is taking warm air from the outside of the car through that, turning it into cold air, and passing it into the passenger compartment. So the transfer of energy there, transfer of heat, which is just energy, is what creates that ice crystal, and then that melts and creates a puddle under your car. It's not leaking. Don't worry. If it's just water, it's fine. Let's see. I've got something on the phones. I said they were kind of the only new technology, but I mean, it's been here since at least the 80s. Computers have in general, and then before that, we just called computers libraries. So they've pretty much been around forever. One point on that, they are not knowledge. They are simply containers of information. Just because you have that phone on you all the time doesn't mean you're a smart fella or gal. It just means you have access to the information that could make you very, very smart. Moving on, like I said, I think I said it earlier, but today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We are talking a little bit of a story. Because it is the 4th of July, I'm kind of wearing a Gadsden flag. So I'm not trying to show off my chest there, I'm just trying to stand up. Um, it's not really a Gadsden flag. This is a cobra instead of a diamondback rattlesnake, but hey, gets the point across. Don't tread on me. So anyway, I want to tell you one of the coolest stories that I really know of in our American history. Um, the story I'm going to tell was written by somebody else. I couldn't find out who it was. I don't know who actually wrote it. But the story is true. There's a few bits of information that aren't quite accurate. Um, but it basically is, that's what happened. We don't have to worry too much about the finite details with this story. I am going to be reading from my notes here. I've got like 6 pages. I think it's only going to take about 10-15 minutes to get through. Without further ado, here is the story of how our national anthem was written. So it began back in about 1812. I think it was the night of September 13th, 1812. It was just after the White House and the Treasury were both destroyed. They used to call, and this time they called the White House the President's House. But just after that, they went a little bit south to Fort McHenry. And the British, anyway, were stationed just offshore. They had some boats there and whatnot. And, that was their next target. And here's our story. So the British and Americans both had prisoners at this point. We had been fighting for a little while. Again, this is the War of 1812, but this is a little bit later into the war. It's not the beginning. So everybody's got prisoners, and the Americans asked the British to negotiate kind of a one-for-one release of the prisoners. I give you a Brit, you give me an American. So the Americans, everybody kind of agreed with that. But they needed to negotiate. So the Americans sent a great man named Francis Scott Key. You've probably heard his name, but probably don't remember where you remember that from. Well, he was an attorney, a United States attorney, and he was sent to go talk to the British, see if he could hash something out. So he rowed a little rowboat. I don't know how big it was, truthfully, but he rowed a rowboat about 1,000, and he probably wasn't the one rowing it either. But anyway, regardless, about 1,000 yards offshore, he met the Brits to work out that negotiation there that they needed. Oh boy, this is going to be hard. I never read off a script, so I'm going to struggle a little bit to keep track of everything, I think. But we'll figure it out. So anywho, he gets on the boat, starts talking to the admiral guy, and, well, they agree to transfer of prisoners there. And so Francis, in celebration, he goes below decks and finds the cargo hold full of American men. He said, "Men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. I've negotiated for your freedom. You'll be let go of your chains, taken out of this filth, and returned to your colonies." He headed back upstairs, or back topside, and was approached by the admiral, who said, "We have a slight problem. We will still honor our deal. However, by morning, it will be purely academic. It won't matter." Francis asked, confused, "Well, what do you mean?" The admiral said, "You see, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort over there, Fort Henry? We're going to remove it from the face of the earth." Francis asked, "How are you going to do that?" The admiral told him to scan the horizon of the sea there. He did, and he saw hundreds of little dots right on that horizon. The admiral told him, "That's the entire British war fleet. All of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. And they will be in position in about 2 hours' time, and the war will be over. Your men will be free." Well, Francis protested that, warning that it's not predominantly a military fort. It's full of women and children, families, people. The admiral said, "That's all right. That's fine. We left them a way out." Francis said, "Well, what's that?" The admiral pointed and said, "Do you see that flag way up there on the rampart?" He said, "We have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will end immediately. We will know they've surrendered, and you'll be under British rule again." Francis, below decks again, relayed this information to his men. As the ships got closer, Francis went back up topside, saying, "Men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch." As twilight began to fall and the haze hung over the ocean, as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet opened fire. He said the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear, and suddenly the darkened sky was lit. From down below, all he could hear his men saying is, "Where's the flag? What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying? Tell us." 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling, every time a bomb would explode near the flag, the explosion would illuminate the flag in a red glow, and Francis would report down to the men, "It's still there! It's still up! It's still standing!" The admiral came and said, "Your men are insane. What's the matter with them?" He said, "Don't they understand this is an impossible situation?" Francis said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said, "The thing that sets an American Christian apart from all other people of the world is he will die on his feet before he lives on his knees." The admiral said, "We have now focused all of our guns on the rampart to take that flag down." He said, "We don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that the flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it still flies. We don't understand it. But now we have every gun for the next 3 hours to bear down on that point." Francis said the barrage was unmerciful, and that all he could hear was men down below praying. The prayer went simply, "God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it." Francis said when morning came, a heavy mist lay over the land, but the ramparts were tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. When he got to shore, Francis rushed into Fort Henry to see what had happened, and what he found was that the flagpole and the flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up selflessly until their own demise. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis said what held up that flagpole at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He then penned the song, "Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming? For the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded, and the price was paid." It is one of my favorite stories of our American history. Such a beautiful thing. I hope this kind of illustrates why some Americans are so dang proud of our country. It was men like this, those patriots who were killed holding up a flag, and then their bodies used to hold that flag up when they no longer could. It's men like that that make our country great. The men of World War II, a very similar flag raising there. We all remember that picture, I'm quite sure. The true heroism that America produces is incalculable and unheard of anywhere else in this beautiful world we have here. That's really all I have for you today. I was actually doing a bunch of yard work this morning and kind of thinking about today's episode. I ended up scrapping the entire episode and doing this instead because I thought it was more important. It is the 4th of July after all. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And because I scrapped my whole last episode, I do pretty much have an entire episode written already. So I might be able to do my first Monday episode. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to do that. We'll see. It also might air on Tuesday because Monday is actually the kind of only day off I really have. So I might have to film it on Monday, edit it all that Monday night, and have it up on Tuesday morning. We'll see, but keep your eyes out for it. Thank you guys all for watching. I've got some new viewers from my work anyway. Daniel and Katie. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Bring your questions to work. Ask me at work, and I'll put the answers into next week's episode. If my family's watching, hey guys, love you, Ma. And to anybody else watching, thank you very much for watching. First off, second off, happy 4th of July, and most importantly, God bless you. God bless America, and God bless this beautiful planet we live on. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you around next time.